Well, blessed Wednesday to you as we come with your daily encouragement. And we are still in First Peter chapter 2, beginning with the 7th verse. And in this verse, we've been talking, or this chapter, we've been talking about living stones, living foundation, and Peter being the living stone, but he's pointing to a greater living stone, and that is Jesus. The stone that was rejected has become the cornerstone of this new spiritual temple, this whole new world that is being created through Jesus Christ and through Peter and through all the leaders of the church. And that's why I went to a deep dive yesterday about the differences between our Roman Catholic friends and Lutherans and Protestants about who is the foundation. And in some cases, it's in an interesting debate, but in other cases, they're both pointing to the same foundation. Jesus is the cornerstone. Whether you access it through the successor of Peter, as our friends believe is in Rome, or you access it through the Word of God, where 2 or 3 are gathered in His name, where God is drawing us together by the power of the Word, by the Bible, by Holy Communion and baptism. All of those things are drawing people to the foundation that is Jesus. And so on this Wednesday, we turn to verse 7. It says, "To you then who believe, He is precious. But for those who do not believe, the stone that the builders rejected has become the very head of the corner." The key word is believe. Now I'm going to quote from the longer ending of Mark because I think it puts it succinctly, and it also is part of the small catechism. It says in Mark 16:16, "He who believes and is baptized shall be saved, but he who does not believe shall be condemned." And this is one I like to highlight when it talks about, well, Pastor, do you believe in the act of baptism? Yes, but I also believe about where its source comes from. It is an act of Jesus. And if you believe in an act of Jesus, that He has come to hold on to you, then you believe. But if you don't believe in Jesus, then that act, whatever it is, doesn't save you. I mean, you can throw all the life preservers out in an ocean when you're trying to swim, but only until you grab onto one of them is it something that you believe in. Jesus is not calling us to have the act of baptism nearby us or maybe adjacent to us. He's wanting us to hold on to it as His saving mechanism, His saving hand. But when we don't do that, then who cares how many life preservers are out there? Those aren't going to save you by just being near or touching. You see, that's where the faith and belief of the sacraments are important, that they go together. Now, Paul will even make a sterner warning about Holy Communion. He says, if you have taken in Holy Communion without belief, it might be something that is making you sick, and maybe something that might, in the end, take your life. Paul is wanting to make sure that when people are talking about Holy Communion, they're not just talking about an everyday meal. Now, sometimes when we are very sick, we need to have something done intravenously to us. But when we are healthy and we just casually talk about our baptism, talk about Holy Communion, talk about our faith, oh yeah, I sometimes hold on to it. It's not an everyday thing. That is where we're running into spiritual, danger. But that's what he says. To those who believe, who trust, He, Jesus, is a precious stone. But for those who do not believe, the stone that the builders rejected has become the head of the corner. Now, there is something when usually you're building arches, they're usually called the keystone. And the keystone is the center stone that holds the arches together. You take that out and the arches start wobbling on either side. And that, I think, is a good way to talk about Jesus, the cornerstone. Now, notice it is not Peter, the cornerstone. It is not any one of our denominations, whether we elevate Luther or Calvin or John Wesley. It is Jesus that we're pointing to as the cornerstone. Or the popularity of a pastor. And I'll be again kind of critiquing when we put the pulpit and the center and the interpreter at the front and center with all the spotlights on them. That's not our tradition, but that's what it is in many popular areas. And some of them are good preachers. And some of them would say, I do not want to be the center of attention. But sometimes by the things that we do, we put them at the center of attention. I always tell people, it's like, once they get to know me, you might get disappointed that I'm not as spiritual as you hope I was. I try not to cause controversy. I not try to cause shame. But I tell people, it's like, I'm not pointing at myself. I'm pointing at Jesus. The rock, the stone that the builders rejected, has become the cornerstone of a whole new universe, world, cosmos, however you put it together. Let's keep Jesus as that cornerstone. God bless you today. We trust that these continue to be words of encouragement. Take care. God bless. We'll see you next time.